Okay, so welcome everyone to the webinar, How to Get More Coaching Clients. So I'm going to give you a bit of backstory first, introduce myself. So I'm Karen Chambers, and my company is called KC Coaching. And the Clarity Cards, which is a system I've developed over the years, came about from my need to gain clients. So hopefully that's all of interest to you as coaches or people that use coaching skills. It's always tricky trying to get those clients. And I found this system I've developed has given me a really easy way to get clients to say yes. And at first it was a bit staggering. I didn't quite believe it was happening. And then when it kept happening, I thought, well, I've probably got something here, so I need to share it. So it first happened when I was going into a prospective client. And I do individual coaching and I do team coaching. And I've been doing that for about 15 years now. But I've moved around the UK. So it's always been a bit tricky. Yeah, you can do clients online, you can use Zoom and Skype and phone, but I always like that face-to-face interaction with my clients as well. So I've moved from the East Midlands up to Yorkshire, which Erica is the top part of England, if you're not sure. And now I'm right on the south coast in Kent. So I can actually see France from the beach where I live. I'm that close to Europe. So not sure if that's a good thing coming up, but anyway, we'll move on from that swiftly. Yeah, it might not be so good at the moment. But it's getting those face-to-face clients, which, it's always been important for me. So as I say, I was going into this prospective client, and he's a general manager of a hotel. And he'd briefly said that he'd got issues with his staff, but he wasn't really articulating exactly what they were. And because, actually, funny enough, he's French, and he had a very strong French accent, and he was very, very hands-on, very animated person. And I thought, right, I've got to really get a grasp of what he wants and be able to understand him. So I knew that was a kind of thing from me rather than him. So I thought, well, I'll do a bit of preparation, a bit more preparation than normal maybe, before I go in and see him. So I looked at all the workshops, and I kind of got the idea he'd want a workshop for his team. So I got the idea, well, maybe it's communication problems and his team aren't fully engaged with each other. I didn't quite know what. So I looked at all the workshops that I'd run, and I thought, right, I've got to be able to sell the benefits. So what are the benefits of, regardless of how I do it or what my approaches are as a coach, what are the benefits to my clients? And so I went back and looked at all the evaluation forms of workshops I'd done previously. I looked on my LinkedIn profile, looked at testimonials people had went on my website, and I immediately started to see a few keywords that came out with each different type of workshop I'd done. So I'm just going to share something with you. Just go into share. Okay, so can everyone see that spreadsheet there?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so what I did was I put down all the workshops that I do for clients, and some are kind of modules that I'd put together. So depending on what they needed, I'd always, tailor make it for them. And I wrote down the keywords. So this is all feedback that people had said in testimonials on the evaluation forms. So I just put, every time a keyword came up quite a bit, 2 or 3 times, I would put that next to the workshop. So my idea was, go in and have a conversation with this chap and see what he says. So we start the conversation, and he says a couple of these keywords. So I get I called it my matrix at the time. I had no idea what to call it, so I just called it the matrix. And I got my matrix out, and I started highlighting the words that he said. Anyway, he saw what I was doing, and he grabbed it off me, grabbed my highlighter pen off me, and said, "Oh, yeah, I can see what you're doing." And he started to highlight the words himself. And he said, "Oh, yeah, so this one's got the most, so that's the workshop I want you to run." And it was that easy. And I thought, okay, yeah, fine, yeah. So I did. Got some really good feedback from the team. Anyway, a month later, I was sat next to somebody at a seminar, and she was the ops director of a different type of industry. And we got chatting, and I mentioned I did workshops. And so I've got real problems with my 2 teams of people at the moment. they're working in silos, they're not talking to each other, no one knows what they're doing. Is that something you could come in and chat to us about? Like, absolutely. So went in, saw her and the MD, and I took this matrix again, but this time I was a bit more upfront, and I actually gave it to her. So after the initial conversation about what they might need, I said, right, you tell me what you need. So she took the highlighter pen and again highlighted the words, where she saw the gaps in her teams, and said, right, I want you to run these 2 workshops. And again, it was that easy. And I came away from it thinking, well, they didn't ask me to write a proposal. They didn't ask me to think about it or kind of get back to you. I thought this happened again. So yeah, I ran those 2 workshops, really good feedback again. And I thought, I'm really onto something. I'm going to carry on using this matrix. It's brilliant. Anyway, a couple of months later, I then went to a coaching event that I regularly go to in London. And we were asked if there was something we could share as a tool or a technique or something that's helped us in our business. So I just shared this. I said, look, I've got this matrix thing and it's just got me 2 big pieces of work. This is how I did it. And everyone sort of jumped on it. It's like, well, can you do this for us? Can you look at our keywords? Can you see what our, and then someone said, well, I don't do workshops. Would this work for me? And I thought, well, it's very tailored for me, or so I thought at the time. But I said, well, if any of you would volunteer to work with me on this, maybe I can make it generic. I don't know yet. So at the time, it did seem very tailored to what I do. But what I found is that actually I have made it generic, and a lot of different coaches are using it now. So depending on, it doesn't matter what niche they're in, most coaches use these 9 aspects of kind of categories, if you like, that I put my workshops in. So we brainstormed the name for what this thing would be. At the time, it's like, well, is it still a spreadsheet? And then someone said, well, how about putting the words on cards? You could make this a card system. And that quite appealed to me because I thought, well, it could go online, it could be an app, but actually that face-to-face interaction again was important for me. So I said, right, what will we call this thing? So we brainstormed the name and clarity came out of it. And I thought that was brilliant because I thought, well, it's totally about giving clarity, not just for the coach so they know what the client wants, but it's getting clarity for the client as well so they know what to ask for. And for me, that was the biggest seller, the fact that the client's asking for what they want, because now they know what they want, made it a lot easier. So from this, the clarity cards were born. So there is now 150 different cards, and they've all got these keywords. So the keywords that were on my spreadsheet originally are now on cards. You'll notice there's colours on them, and I'll explain that a bit more in a minute. And basically, the colours relate to my previous workshops, but actually the 9 workshops that I did are all different aspects of coaching, and I didn't realise that at the time. So it's kind of not a coincidence, I suppose, because it goes into the 9 things that I do for clients, but actually that is the 9 things that most coaches do for their clients. So what this does is it narrows down and focuses on what somebody needs immediately. So I use it as a very short-term focused technique, plus as well as getting clients. So I'll just quickly show you what the 9 areas of coaching are. And then we'll do the introductions, because it'd be good to see if you think some of these areas are applicable for your business. So the 9 colours, so purple's around awareness, behaviours and motivation. And this is applicable for individual and team coaching. So I've got instructions for individual and teams that come with the cards as a system. But it's just different words. So whereas something like the yellow here is about encouragement and empowerment, because that's words that relate for an individual. For a company, it might be mission statement or company values. So that'd be more corporate focused. All I've done is use different terminology. So before I go any further then, should we do a few intros? Just sort of tell me where you're based, what kind of coaching you're doing, if you find getting clients a challenge, or if this might be useful. So Sam, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, cool. So, my name's Sam. I'm from Milton Keynes. So, yeah, about an hour outside of London. And what I do, I was a teacher for 5 years. And when I was teaching, I found like lots of problems in schools, mainly with student confidence, anxiety, motivation, stuff like that. And that's what I really help students with. I coach them one on one and in groups to help them achieve to gain the confidence that I was lacking at school and they sometimes lack, and just to really be really happy in who they are right now. Yeah, I've really struggled finding clients, if I'm honest. For the first bit until now, um, how I'm getting them now is just by running events. So I run parent events. I train parents on some coaching techniques. They see the value, and then I book their son or daughter in for a coaching call. So yeah, this is for sure could be a value. I like the fact you can pick and choose. It's quite a good way of letting people have the choice of really what they want and like making it really bespoke.
Yeah,
So it's me.
brilliant. Okay, thank you, Sam. Erica, do you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Erica out of Denver, Colorado. I am brand new to the coaching world, so just getting started, focusing specifically mainly in career coaching. Life coaching is definitely my passion, but I see that at least here there's still a little bit of a stigma with it, that people are all about working on their careers, but not so much about like necessarily themselves yet. So I'm seeing a lot of value getting people with the coaching and the career side and then bringing them in through life. So, but it's the difficulty I've faced is I was actually in advertising sales for pretty much all of my career, and I was pretty great at helping people build their businesses, but it's so different not only when it's your own baby, but when you're starting out from scratch. It's like it can be overwhelming. You just start questioning everything. So that's definitely where I've been starting out.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks for that. So, Derek, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Derek. I'm the odd one out. I'm not the coach. Um, I work for we're a small company. We're an HR company, and we're really looking at this from the point of view of we have a number of small, medium-sized clients as a tool for really helping individuals develop in their businesses and how that can contribute to the performance and effectiveness of their businesses. We're based in Kent. Actually, we're just about half an hour up the road, I think, from Karen. Yeah, that's who we are.
Yeah, so. Thanks, Derek. And Michelle.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I haven't got the video on.
That's all right.
So I'm Michelle Yeoman. I'm an accredited executive coach, but I'm a former HR director, so I was in HR for about 20 years. Coaching was part of my role, but I only got formally accredited last year. And I set up my own business in September, so it's fairly new. And the main proposition is the coaching, and HR consultancy is kind of the secondary offering. If I'm honest about my passion, it's definitely on the coaching side. My ideal client really is a working parent who is juggling lots of stuff, still wants to have a career, but obviously wants to invest in their family and spend time with their kids, and hasn't got much time for themselves. So it's really about assessing their career and life goals, and getting their spark back and starting to view everything with renewed energy, and kind of being their best self for everyone around them, but most of all for themselves. So that's my main passion. In terms of coaching work, my clients at the moment are mainly corporate, but I think that's probably where I'm at in terms of leaving the corporate world and the kind of leads that I would get from my existing network. But really excited to be thinking about growing it with life coaching clients.
Yeah.
And the clarity model for me, Karen, I mean, it really resonates in terms of some of the terminology and language that corporate clients use. But I think there's a lot of synergy with life clients too. Yeah. So I'm really interested to see how they might work from a kind of getting business perspective.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks for that. So for those that haven't seen the cards, just a quick go through of what the process is to start with. So the idea is you go along to a prospective client, whether that's individual or it's a decision maker for an organisation. And what I found, or what other coaches have found as well, is you need to be quite focused in this. In the early days, when we launched this last year, I would ask somebody a very general question, but like any coaching question, the more focused that you are, the better the answer. So just asking somebody also, what do you need to improve your business? It's just too vague. But narrowing it down to say, right, tell me exactly what you need out of your business in the next month, that's a lot more sort of laser focused. So giving it a deadline is really important, and finding that right question. So yes, you have got to be a coach, but I don't think you're going to need to be a qualified coach, or you can be quite a new coach. So as long as you've got basic coaching questions or basic coaching techniques, even if it's just the GROW model, you can use this system, because this doesn't replace what you do as a coach. This is an actual add-on. So this is to get you the coaching work to start with. So what you do is you give people a subset. So the actual pack of cards themselves, there's quite a lot, as I said. So there's 115 in there. So what I found is it's better to give people just a subset of the cards. So you'd go in and have your normal coaching conversation, or when you're going in to see a prospect, you go into kind of coaching mode anyway, because that's the best way to get a prospective client, is to give them a taster of what you already do. But give them a subset. So you're just giving them, say, 50, 30 cards. You're getting that focused question with a deadline, and then you're just getting them to choose the cards that they either need more of or less of. If I just go back to that previous slide, just to show you what some of the things are. So you've got prioritize, you've got awareness, focus, and there are negative cards in here as well. So there's things like fear and anxiety, frustration. So it's about what you want to get rid of or have less of, or what you want more of. So it's not just about what you need, it might be what you get rid of. So when they're going through the cards, and I say, use just your gut instinct, don't overanalyze it. I had a person I was doing this with last week, and they were really thinking about the cards. It's like, no, think about it really quickly. Gut instinct, you either need it or you don't. You either need more of it or less of it, or it doesn't mean anything to you. So the idea is to discard the ones that don't mean anything, and then give back the ones back to you that they want more or less of. And you can end up with a different amount of cards. So what I thought I'd do is take you through a few scenarios, and these are real life situations of what's happened. So when I'm doing this, I will take a snapshot with my phone just as my own record, and I'll tell you in a minute about a review tool that feeds into. So this is one scenario. So can everyone see that? So this is the green and red example. So this was somebody, and I don't know if the colours are very clear on here, but that's a row of greens. So there's mauves there, there's more greens there, there's some pinks and some reds, and another pink there. And as I said before, it doesn't matter if a card has got one spot or multiple spots. It's just about how many spots altogether there are of each colour. So this person had just started a new role as HR director, and she wasn't feeling very sure about herself. She'd been in the company for a while, so this was a new role. It's kind of a step up, and she just needed a bit of help in, I can't remember exactly what the question was now, but it was about going forward, how can she handle, sitting around the board table and feeling like she belonged there. So what she picked was these cards. I think this was a subset, so you can either use just a few cards. So if I just give 30 or 50 cards to somebody, as long as it comes out with a pattern, if you can see a pattern immediately, then you can stop it and say, right, there's a pattern here, I can feed that back what that means. Or you can use the whole set. Really depends on how much time you've got. I mean, I've done this in 6 minutes, so you can do it in really limited time, which, sometimes if you're trying to work with organisations, they want something quite quick and a quick sort of demo. So what I was able to feed back to this person was, yeah, you've got quite a few greens, and usually if it's for an individual, the greens come out because if you go back to what the colours represent, so green's about personal and business growth, and the other colour that was coming out was some reds, and the reds is about acceptance, recognition, feeling valued. So I was able to feed back to her immediately that, yeah, one-to-one coaching would really help you in this role, but that's a kind of given because of usually if people are using this, it's for self-development anyway, so those kind of keywords will get picked. But the one to look at really was the fact that she'd got 3 reds and maybe her self-belief wasn't there that she could do this role. So I was able to say to her, right, as a starting point, this is what we'd work on, your self-belief, that you actually feel like you should belong there. And she said that was spot on. That's exactly how she was feeling. So it gives some immediate feedback, but it also gives you then the opportunity to say, right, so this is, in our first coaching session, this is what we'd explore. That's not to say that you'd miss out what the other things were. You can go back to those. But it's quite key for people to know immediately what you can do, because I think sometimes with coaching, people can feel a bit sort of vague about what it is will I get, because it's such an intangible thing sometimes. But to say something tangible like, yeah, this is what we'd work on, because this is obviously what's going on. And the fact is, when they're picking these cards, they don't actually notice what the colours are. And I've had people say, oh, I didn't even notice there were colours on there. So they're picking the words on a subconscious level, and then you're able to diagnose it using the colours. So next scenario, so again, this is for individual coaching. This was, so the green and mauve, just refresh my memory. Green and mauve. Yeah, so this is the one I did in 6 minutes. So as soon as the pattern came out, so we had 6 green and 4 mauve come out. And as not many other colours were coming out, I said, right, I can tell you straight away from the scenario. So she'd fed me the scenario of working with this organisation. She was a freelance person, but there was an issue, and she didn't have to go into much detail with it. But when I fed back that, well, the mauve is about values. Is there something going on about your values and their values not being aligned? And she said, oh, actually, you've really hit the nail on the head. My values, their values aren't at all what I agree with. So probably I may need to rethink about working with them. So, that was pretty quick. So she'd already got an action from that before we even started coaching. Now, the next one I'm going to show you, because you can see the difference between those two. The 2 people only chose a few cards. This next person chose quite a few cards. And it's kind of, it was quite a focused question, but there was a lot going on with it. So, and as you can see, when you lay the cards out as a coach, what you're doing is you're doing the diagnostic for them. So it doesn't necessarily really matter at this stage what's on the cards, the words themselves. But as I said, you take a snapshot of it as your record, and then you can come back and say, right, well, now we're going to explore reds, and what you picked were these. Tell me what you mean by appreciation or recognition. And you can go into a bit more detail with your own coaching style. So as you can see, it's quite difficult to see what the main colour was. So we've got a lot of green here, and we've got some purple, and then we've got a bit of mauve here, and we've got a bit of red. So at first glance, I thought, right, so there's lots of green and there's a bit of red and there's a bit of pink. But since then, I've learnt that for the diagnostic part, and this is the same set of cards, but put in order. So as you can see, we're not seeing the words because we don't need to see the words. And what's important for us is the colours. And straight away, you can see it's all reds. So we've got a bit of green, a bit of purple, a bit of mauve, bit of pink, but quite a lot of red. Now this person, their situation was they'd been working with a client, something had gone wrong. She thought she should maybe walk away from it. It left her with a bad feeling about the whole thing. It's like, well, I probably should just walk away and leave it. When she did this and I fed back, well, the red is about your self-belief, you being valued for what you've done. And she said, actually, I've just realised I do need to stand up for myself and go back to this client because actually it's eroding my self-worth. And I didn't realise that, but just by feeding that back, and it quite deeply affected her. So she made that decision, yeah, I've got to sort this. It's obviously something I need to deal with, rather than sort of brush it under the carpet. And again, that happened fairly quickly, quite a quick session. So that's the individuals. So any questions so far on that? Okay.
No.
So does anyone, I think you mentioned, I know Sam, you do team coaching. Anyone interested on the team coaching side? Because I've got a couple of examples for that. So let me quickly show you these. So this was going in to see a decision maker. Now there's two ways you can work with an organisation. I'll tell you about one in a moment. So this was just working with a decision maker. So the way this works, obviously, is the decision maker, and it could be an HR person, a business development person. It's obviously their perspective of what a team might need. How I worked with this 3 weeks ago was actually with a team to find out what they think they need, which is usually different from what the decision maker thinks. So it can be used both ways, but it depends on what the organisation is, and if you can get to see the staff rather than the decision maker, or both, which is ideal. So for this one, the purple and mauve, so quite a bit of purple came out and a bit of mauve. So what we did for this was ran a workshop for the team, and we combined purple and mauve. So we did something on behaviours and motivation, and we also put things in about values. So I was able to feed that back. Now that was quite different from the next organisation, which I actually thought was a bit strange, because they only picked 2 colours, and this was completely random because they didn't see the colours again, they're just picking the words, but they had all orange and all yellow, or all orange. And what they needed for the team was things about empowering their staff, giving their staff a bit of a can-do attitude, but also sharing the company vision. So they'd realised they hadn't been doing that, and that's probably why people weren't being empowered and proactive, because they weren't sharing that big vision. So I was able to feed back, right, we can do a workshop that combines these 2 elements. And then lastly, on the team one, so this was actually used, I know you can't see these very well, but just to demonstrate that there's lots of purple and quite a bit of red. This was when we used these for a workshop 3 weeks ago, for an organisation on the South Coast. And the workshop was for culture and values. So it was about the company, embedding the company values and getting staff engagement with that. And the organisation did want me to kind of sell the values to the staff. I said, no, that's not the way to do it. We'll work with the teams, get them to come up with their own values. And then if they align, then we know we're doing the right job. So what was lovely is we gave a pack of the same cards. We just narrowed the cards down to 50 because we thought there'd be too many for using all of them. We gave the 3 teams of 6, 50 cards that were the same, and got them just to do a higher and lower game. So it was kind of like, in your teams, you've got to reach consensus of which is your top 10 values. So we took all the sort of negative cards out, so we don't want frustration or fear as a value. So using 50 as a subset, they came up with their top 10. Then we got the 3 teams to feed those 10 back. And what was nice was there was 4 or 5 cards that actually overlapped, so they'd all chosen more or less the same cards. So that was nice because the teams had all bought into that, and then they were sharing them as an organisation. What was even better was then the CEO was interested in how I use these cards normally. And I said, well, I haven't used them actually as a diagnostic side in the teams, but if you want me to feed that back, I can send you a pie chart. So part of this system is a pie chart, which I'll show you. So the pie chart. So as you can see from those previous cards, it was purple and red, and a bit of mauve and yellow. So this is the snapshot of that when you feed it into a spreadsheet for the numbers. So I don't know if you can see the percentages here. So we've got here on the red, we've got 17%, and on the purple, I can't quite see it because of the, let me just move that over there. So the behaviours and awareness was 27%, and the values was coming out at 21%. So that was quite nice to feed back to the CEO that the ones they'd chosen as their values, and this would be the next step. So they've had their values workshop, she's looking for something, another approach. And I've said, right, so the behaviours are the way to embed those values. Being able to give that her as a tool was kind of like verification, if you like. And just to show you where that came from, so the spreadsheet was just a case of putting all the different numbers in here and it works it out for you. So that's a review tool as part of this process. The beauty of this is also that if I'd done it individually, confidentially, I could have done that as a different way. So I've put dummy names in here just so you can see it's for 5 different people. What you do then is you count up, you have a mini clarity card session with them. You tot up how many of each colour. So here Steve had 9 purple and 5 mauve. Jenny had 9 purple, 3 mauve. That tots it up, and then from that a spreadsheet's produced again. So again, this is fed back to the decision maker. I take the names out to make sure it's confidential, but again, they've got a nice snapshot straight away of what the teams need. So they know they need work on that bit, and that bit. And then you can go back and say, right, these are 3 main elements here that are going on. We can put a workshop together that will maybe incorporate 3 or 2, and we come back and do another one as a next workshop. So that's down to you really, as when you're diagnosing it. So every time we run a workshop for these, because I'm training coaches to use this system, something new comes out. And the one we ran in December, we came up with a toolbox of resources. So this was about, I'm just going to make this a bit bigger because I know it's probably not that yet. So what we did was we brainstormed what we as coaches would use. So, you know, if we did a session and say blue came up, what would we then say? What would be our next step? So everyone made suggestions, and you know, there were some that I'd never heard of. So like SOAR, I mean, I'd heard of SWOT and Wheel of Life. So for gap analysis and the goal setting blue, what would you as a coach next use? So I use the Wheel of Life quite a bit. That's a nice one. Some people saying the 10-year or Nirvana letter, it's called. So that's where you're writing a letter to yourself from 10 years in the future to set objectives. Someone said, write your own obituary. I'm always quite careful when I use that with clients. You always get different mixed results or different reactions, like, I don't want to think about death, but it's really useful when it does work. Things like life scripts from transactional analysis. So, you know, as coaches, we've all got these amazing tools that we can use for this, and, you know, they all feed into the different colours. Right, so any questions? Any questions on that? I've probably bombarded you with lots of stuff. Anyone think of a way that they can use this with their prospective clients or the clients you've got?
Yeah, I think at the moment, you know, I meetings with parents, right, about like what they really want from the coaching as well. So I guess it's sort of corporate in some ways, because in corporate, I guess you have the director and then the employee, whereas it's the parent and the child.
Yeah.
So I guess my brain was just thinking, I guess I could use this in terms of giving the parents the cards and being like, look, what do you want to work on? See, part of me, I'm not sure if it's just because I'm being, I don't know, a bit naive, but I generally get roughly kind of the same stuff. So I kind of think I know. I'm not sure how it would add value. It might be better value for me for a school, because I seem to be going to lots of schools and being like, look, here's loads of stuff, like, what would you like me to work on?
Yeah.
So I think it's good for that because it gets it really clear. Again, having been a teacher and now worked with lots of students as a coach and schools, like, again, I feel like I know really what they want, but this obviously gives them more choice. It makes them more of a decision maker, and, you know, it means that I shouldn't really assume, you know, because everyone's going to be different. Every school might have different values, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's definitely use. I'm just trying to work out, like, in what capacity would it be most useful for me, right? But yeah, I really like it. I think it's a great system.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I think you're right about them being the decision maker, because giving them the cards puts them in control of it. So that's the feedback I've had. And I know one coach, she She's an executive coach, so she only deals with senior managers, people at the top. And her feedback was it was really interesting getting people to choose the cards, because they'd choose cards with things on, like anxiety or fear. And normally that wouldn't come up because that's something they'd probably hide a bit, in their position. But because it was on a card, it gave them permission to pick it.
I think another great thing is when I come in sometimes and set an agenda with a student, it can be quite tough at times, because it's like, you open that question like, right, how can I help you today? What do you want to talk about? Like, how can I make today powerful, great conversation? And sometimes they struggle. So what I end up doing is going to I call it breakthrough wheel, but wheel of life, right? With all the stuff around the outside.
Yeah.
And they kind of choose off that, and then we kind of set an agenda around that. So we just kind of like that, but I think just a bit better, like the agenda setting on steroids, right? Because they're getting the choice, and they're making it a bit more specific to them. So, I do like it for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So, Erica, do you think this is something you could use? Would it be useful?
Yeah, I'm trying to think how I can kind of incorporate it as well. I know that it's definitely given me an idea as far as the career side of things. For example, I have a meeting today, and she is debating if she's going to go to med school or if she's just going to stay in the corporate world. So being able to kind of narrow down like what all we'll discuss in the 1 hour, I think they would be really helpful for that. I know that a lot of the people who I'm working with I'm definitely not focused on corporate. It's more women, 20s and 30s is more my demographic. Not saying that this wouldn't work for that, but I know a lot of the stuff on here, some of it I'm not familiar with. So
no, that's fine. I mean, this was just an indication of what other coaches are using,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously you've got your own toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's very interesting though.
Yeah.
I like how simplified it is.
Yeah, it is quite a simple system, because I was surprised that there was nothing else around like it. So I've done a lot of research, and I was like, well, have I just invented something new? How did I do that? But it just come from a need that I had. So it was useful to me, but it's proven useful for a lot of coaches. So I've been running workshops. I mean, at the moment, only in the UK, unfortunately, Erica, but I can do them online. So if you can't get to a workshop, I can do training online. So that, if that suits you. So at the moment, I'm running events in Kent and London. So Derek, have you got any feedback?
Well, I'm looking at it from the point of view, picking up on one of the words on the slide is empowerment for individuals in businesses, in small businesses, and helping them develop and contribute to more to the businesses. So I'm trying to work out how in the process that's going to work in my head at the moment, but I think it's the key word for me is about empowerment and helping individuals in the businesses.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as a special offer, I am offering 10% off my next workshop if anyone would be interested, and either a workshop or Erica online. So my next workshop's in London, 7th of March. So if you are interested, let me know. So I run it as a kind of try before you buy. I'm trademarking this as a product now. And so it'd be by license, so coaches will have to be trained to use it. What I did in the early days was I let a couple of coaches just use them and give me feedback, but actually because they hadn't been trained to use them, they didn't use them properly, so it was kind of limited feedback. And then they came on a workshop and they've worked brilliantly, so now they're gaining clients with them and using them with their clients. So it does need either a day's workshop or a one-on-one hours session maybe, that's personalised to your business. So if that's something of interest, let me know. As part of a licensed coach, there are quite a lot of goodies that go with this. So obviously the training, the cards, the instructions. Every time we run a workshop, there's a new add-on tool. So the pie chart came out of one, the toolbox of resources come out of another. And it always seems to be someone has a different take on it. So we've had creative coaches, we've had analytical coaches, which has been great. So just to give you kind of an overview of what I do is, so there's a kind of a try before you buy workshop. So I'm just charging for the workshop, and from that you can decide then, yeah, I want to become a licensed coach, it's going to work for me. And after a day you should know whether that's something you're comfortable using. So, you know, it's practical sessions, so you'll be using it with other coaches, see how you could use it for your business. And then you'll get the full sort of system. So you'll also get a listing on my directory, so that people, if someone in Denver wants a coaching session with the Clarity Cards, they'd come to you, Erica. But I've got coaches all over the UK now using this system. So it means that local people, you know, they don't have to rely on me just doing it. You know, I'm quite open to anyone that's trained on this. They go off and get their own clients through it. And I'm quite willing to share that on my website as a directory. And you get all the ongoing updates as well, and access to my LinkedIn user group. So we have a lot of sharing in there about how, I mean, I was talking to a coach yesterday who's based in the east of England, and she used the pie chart in a completely different way to feed back to an organisation, which I hadn't thought of. I said, right, post it in the LinkedIn group, you know, share that with all of us. So yeah, if that is of interest to anyone, let me know. Just to give you the full information, just 150 for training session or the online session, and then the stages of getting the cards and the license fee. And I've worked it out as a return on investment. You'd only need to get a new client a year to cover this as a license, and coaches are getting clients through this system, which is good. So any other questions?
No, just thank you so much for sharing.
Yes,
That's
thank
all
you.
right. Any questions you've got later, just drop me an email. But thank you very much for attending.
Thank you very much, Karen.
Nice meeting you, Erica.
Yeah,
And,
nice to meet you.
okay, I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Karen. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.